Wednesday. I am doing an episode on reviewing an episode of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, and today I have decided to do one on bats, which was from season 4. Probably one of my more favorite episodes. And anyway, starting out, Applejack, like she often does, she's starting the day with apple bucking, but there is one major problem going on that day. When she kicks the first tree, the apples that come out of it just go splat on the ground, which means, well, obviously something is wrong. And then when she looks up, there are the bats, and she's like, oh no, they're back. Because obviously there's been issues with vampire fruit bats there at Sweet Apple Acres before when Granny Smith was young, and when that happened, well, they had to ration out apples all winter long, and like Applejack says later in the episode, there's no cider, and of course that upsets Dash because we all know how much she loves her cider. Anyway, after she discovers that, then Applejack realizes there needs to be a call to action. All hooves and claws on deck. And yes, he's going to need all those hooves and claws on deck. And anyway, they're trying to figure out how they can. Okay, anyway, Applejack is concerned about her orchard, particularly this huge apple that she had grown that when she's going to put in the Appaloosa a contest in Appaloosa for the produce competition. And anyway, then all of a sudden, Fluttershy thinks that, okay, maybe I can talk to the bats and there won't be any issues. They'll leave the apple alone. Well, Fluttershy tries to do that, but thing is, she does today are pretty much like, no, we're not going to listen to you. And of course, she can't understand the bats because it's the first time she's ever interacted with these things, which kind of surprises me because I consider that she could understand the language of any creature, whether she's seen them or not. And anyway, Applejack says they're a bunch of monsters for wanting to destroy our orchard. And of course, then we have probably one of my absolute favorite songs from the whole series. Stop the bats, make them go and not come back. Stop the bats, make them go and not come back. It comes down to just one simple fact. They've crossed the line, it's time we attack. Okay, sorry about that, but I just love that song. Anyway, and then of course, Fluttershy comes up with a suggestion to sort of maybe take care of the problem. She suggests giving part of the orchard to these bats. Well, there are regular fruit bats that already live in the west part of the orchard. And then all of a sudden to surrender more orchard to bats, well, Applejack, that is a no-go. Actually, it'd be a no-go to me, too, because it's like, hey, that's my livelihood there. These bats are destroying it, you know? I'm not going to give any of that up. And then, of course, Twilight, she comes up with an idea, a spell to make the bats not want to eat the orchard. But there's only one little, I think, yeah, it is a good and catchy song. Sorry, I didn't notice that earlier. Notice your message there earlier. But anyway, yeah, it's a really great song. And again, now back to where I was. Yeah, Twilight says, but for the spell to work, that she has to have the bat's complete attention, which means Fluttershy has to use her stare. And well, we don't know how Fluttershy feels about doing things to animals. It takes away what really makes them them. She initially says, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to take away what makes the vampire fruit bats. Ultimately, though, she caves in, and then she'll finally decides, okay, she'll do the spell. And of course, Twilight casts the spell, and because Fluttershy's doing her stare, and then it's, something weird happens with that. Of course, I'll bring that up later on. And then after she gets done doing her stare, and Fluttershy and Twilight finishes the spell, you notice Fluttershy sees this apple, and all of a sudden, she seems unusually interested in it, which is something that normally wouldn't happen. And then, of course, Applejack tries to go out and do her apple bucking again the next day. Same problem. Uh, the apples just splat down, but it wasn't the bats that ate them this time. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And when they ask Fluttershy if she knew what could be causing this, she has this guilty look on her face, like, you're asking me? It's like, I can't really tell you. And um, then they decide. Twilight says we're going to do a stakeout to check, see if we can find who's been doing this. And then, of course, Fluttershy, after they bring this, seems to be getting more nervous. Then, when they finally go to do the stakeout, yeah, Fluttershy is still nervous, but she's like, maybe we should call this off. I don't know about you, but I'm really hungry. Then, of course, she's eyeballing an apple again. And then, okay, once they start their stakeout, there's this shadow flying overhead. They're actually getting kind of nervous, thinking, okay, what is this thing? Is it going to come after us? And then ultimately, okay, first off, you have Rarity wondering, then you have Rainbow Dash attack a Scarecrow, thinking it was whoever was doing that. Then ultimately, Twilight, Applejack, and Pinkie discover that the Fluttershy has turned into Flutterbat, and she's taking apples, sucking the juice right out of them, and hissing, which is, of course, one of my favorite parts. And okay, speaking of Flutterbat, I'm going to show you a special guest that I have with me. This is my Flutterbat plushie. She was also made by Ponies by Rubio Wolf, like so many of my other plushies are. And you see, she even has a magnet here and a magnet here, so it can look like she's always eating on her apple. Okay, where is that magnet again? Well, anyway, all right, Flutterbat, we'll bring you back later. And then, of course, they're all of a sudden realizing we got to do something, or Fluttershy is going to destroy the entire orchard. Oh, yeah. I think this is a cute plushie. If you are really interested in these wanting a plushie of your own, check Ponies by Rubio Wolf because she makes absolutely amazing plushies. High quality minky fabric. She puts a lot of TLC into them, and that's why I've been commissioning from her for quite a long time, and also buying from conventions. Like I'd got a Misty from at BabsCon. But anyway, enough about Misty for right now. If we can bring her in later at a different time. And then, of course, Pinkie Pie, she is afraid. She is afraid that vampire ponies will eat other ponies. Well, of course, Fluttershy is not a vampire pony. She's just been turned into a vampire fruit bat version of a pony. But anyway, yeah, Pinkie's afraid she's going to eat her. And then all of a sudden, Rarity asks how this happened. And Twilight brings in this idea that when she cast the spell, that it was supposed to go right onto the bats, but apparently it backfired to send their desire to eat the fruit into Fluttershy, which caused her to become Flutterbat. Well, they decide they're gonna. Okay, let me get on. Just a sec. They decide they're going to track her down and reverse this spell. Well, catching Flutterbat isn't going to be as easy as they just initially thought because, they try to get close to her. She'll fly around, get away from them. And then, of course, as they're doing this, her final transformation takes place as her ears become like those of a bat, which was another moment I really liked. And anyway, then finally, they're like, Pinkie's like, oh, if we can only get the Fluttershy to do her stare on the Flutterbat. Well, then that causes Twilight to get an idea. They get these mirrors, and then ultimately they're able to get Fluttershy to stare at Flutterbat to stare at herself, which then allows Twilight to cast the counterspell, which would return the Fluttershy that we all love and hold so dear to us. And anyway, that ultimately works, and she's confused, wondering what happened, because she obviously wasn't in her normal state while she was being Flutterbat. And then in the end, Applejack does finally surrender some orchard to these vampire fruit bats. Of course, vampire fruit bats that we never see again during the entire series. Well, also, we never saw the ones that are in the West Orchard to start with, so it kind of makes you wonder why they didn't bring those things up, but still. Um, anyway, okay, I'm sorry about this, folks. I get a bit nervous when I'm on live video. And anyway, then they are in Fluttershy's cottage, and Applejack admitted that her um, short-term solution was rather short-sighted. And of course, Fluttershy says that you shouldn't let anyone tell you what to, give you any ideas or take or do anything that you know isn't right. And of course, in there at the very end, you have Fluttershy, while they're laughing, her fang, she still has one fang left. But there's one little thing outside of the episode where she dresses up as Flutterbat. They never brought her back, and it's like it really makes me wish they would have brought her back at some point, like say maybe have a lunar eclipse, which would then cause her to come out again, and then maybe destroy some more orchard or do something else. But anyway, overall, this is one of my absolute favorite episodes of the series. And well, anyway, folks, you all have a happy Wednesday. And again, sorry if this isn't the best review because I do get nervous on video. Anyway, all of you have a good day. Bye.